Welcome to Lifestyle Solopreneur, the community for entrepreneurs who put lifestyle first. Join your host Flavia Barris as she interviews successful lifestyle solopreneurs and shares ideas to help you find the perfect balance between lifestyle, business, and self. Flavia is an attorney, marketing expert, and founder of several online academies. She's been featured in major media, including BBC World News, The Wall Street Journal, The New York Post, ESPN Television, and more. Join us for this episode of Lifestyle Solopreneur.
Hey, Lifestyle Solopreneurs. Today we get to speak with Matt Raad. He has defied convention and achieved financial freedom through a unique path. Honestly, it's one he's our first guest with this path. He started with nothing and then built a high cash flow portfolio by buying and selling businesses, but not just any businesses. Wait till you hear the punchline. Today, he is a recognized authority in website investments, using digital assets to generate wealth. He's a pioneer in this field. He was among the first to explore the potential of buying, building, and renovating websites. He now teaches beginners how to reach 6- and 7-figure incomes using this strategy. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Thank you so much for having me on, Flavia. It's great to be here.
I love having you on because we've had quite a few, and anyone who's been listening for a while knows this, quite a few real estate guests, because real estate lends itself really well to sort of passive income and, having a lifestyle business, or people who moonlight and do things sort of on the side, or just need a new way to invest and, they're tired of stocks or other things they can do, so they turn to real estate. But you are our first sort of virtual real estate expert, and I am curious because the internet's only been around so long. So how did you end up doing this of all the different paths you could have taken?
Yeah, it's a really good story because, like a lot of your listeners, my business partner is actually my wife, and we've been buying and selling businesses for the last 30 years. And like a lot of your listeners, we've always been fascinated by this concept of passive income. And for us, rather than doing it through real estate, which is the traditional way to do it, we did it through buying and selling bricks and mortar businesses in the early days. So we started out as young entrepreneurs. We, made all the mistakes. We're totally self-taught. We originally grew up on farms, and what we really wanted was that leverage. For me, it was leverage on my money or time. And I didn't ever want to work 9 till 5, swap time for money. For Liz, her leverage point, she wanted ultimate freedom to be able to live wherever we wanted and raise our family and have time freedom. So for us, business was the perfect vehicle. But bricks and mortar businesses are pretty tough. They take a long time. You're constantly reinvesting the profits back into the business. You've got to go into debt a lot, typically here in Australia. So we're based in Australia. So Flavia, like you said, once we started to see this thing called the internet come along in the let's say early 2000s, we realized we could do what we used to do with bricks and mortar businesses, i.e. buy them, fix them up, and keep them for cash flow or sell them. We realized we could do it a lot easier and quicker because we had massive leverage. We had no geographic borders. We're based in Australia. Literally, we all of a sudden had a 24/7 marketplace that was basically passive. So we go to bed, wake up in the morning, and we've made money. And even better for us, there are no geographic borders anymore. Most of our websites were based in the United States, and we made money off advertising. So it was once we had the site set up, they were very passive compared to our bricks and mortar businesses. That's been our 30-year buying and selling business journey in a nutshell.
So here's the part that gets me, because a lot of what I do is in the real estate world. And we have this thing called flipping real estate, right? And many people know what that is. It's people who buy a property that could have some sort of sprucing up done to it to make it more valuable. So someone will go in, they'll buy a property. Maybe it's even very distressed. Maybe it had a fire or it needs a lot of work. And they will fix it up, resell it so that they can make a profit. So, whatever the resale price is has to be equal to the cost of the renovations they did, and obviously cover their original purchase price. And then anything above and beyond that is their profit. And they can rinse and repeat. Now, I also know, because I work in real estate, the dangers and sort of the risks involved are construction costs, supply chain issues, materials going up in price. You had a crew and they were going to do the work and now they're off on some other job, or they decided not to do it, or they told you the price is going to be double. Budget goes up, eats up all your profit, or whatever. Maybe the real estate market changes, or you discover the property that you thought was in pretty good shape and just needed some, lipstick, ended up having foundation issues or mold or something else. So it's high risk, pretty high reward, but that's real estate. Tell me, in the world of virtual real estate, right? You're buying and selling websites. What are some of like your nightmare scenarios versus your, best case scenario, what you're looking for?
Yes, some important distinctions first. It's a really good analogy with doing, the web traditional real estate flipping. That's pretty much what we do with websites. And like you said, we want to make sure we're buying websites where we don't get into these major problems or major fix-ups. We just want websites where we can do what we call a basic renovation or makeover, and then we keep tweaking them as we hold them and we improve them. So it's like giving the initial coat of paint, a bit of a spruce up. And there's some very particular levers that we pull to double the website's profits or success. And namely, we're trying to fix up the amount of visitors that come to the site and also the conversions, and then also the dollars that we earn for every visitor that lands on the website. That's the main sort of aspect of what we do. So in terms of, like you said, Flavia, I don't want to use nightmare scenarios or we're not looking for those. We're looking for but I know what you mean. We don't want to be making big mistakes when we get into these websites, just like with bricks and mortar real estate or bricks and mortar businesses. And I think the main thing that we do there is by very careful due diligence. And what we want to make sure that we are getting trusted, solid websites that have basically been sitting around for a few years. They're neglected by the owners. They're typically kind of underutilized. And I guess it's like buying, what's the old real estate saying? Buying the worst house in the best street. So we're looking for websites in good niches that are just not, typically the websites we're buying are what we call passion websites, where they're not set up by sophisticated internet marketers or anything like that. They're people who are passionate about blogging on a certain topic. And typically what happens after 2 to 3 years, they might lose interest, life gets in the way, and they're happy to sell them off at a good price. They're the absolute gold because we know they're legitimate. They've been, genuinely built. They've got genuine traffic, genuine profits. Some of them don't make that much money, so we can very easily monetize them. And I guess that's how we reduce our risk significantly, is by knowing what are we going to do when we own this, like how to renovate it, how to fix it up, and also knowing how to do good website due diligence. So it's exactly like for you guys with real estate. You guys know you don't just buy the first piece of real estate that the realtor recommends. You need to do your own due diligence and understand what are you getting into. It's exactly the same with websites. At the end of the day, honestly, they're just a little cash cow business. That's it. So there is risks, but at the end of the day, we're trying to minimize that risk by doing good due diligence on them.
So with your expertise, you could probably also build websites from scratch. So what are the benefits of purchasing an existing website versus just kind of looking around saying, hey, that's a good topic, and just doing it on your own from scratch?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And actually, Flavia, we do that. And we recommend that as a really good strategy, because once you've got these skills, so the main thing that stops people doing what we do is just getting those digital skills, right? But once that's what we do these days. We teach people, particularly beginners, how to get the digital skills to do what we've done over the last 20 odd years. So in terms of building websites versus buying them, we actually suggest you do both. And the key difference is building websites just takes up a lot of time, and it's a slow burn. It might take a year or two for those sites to really get traction. So you can do that part-time in the background whilst you're working a 9 to 5 job, or these days it seems to be a 5 to 9 job, or at least here in Australia. But you can do this part-time in the evenings, both building and buying websites. Now, obviously, the biggest advantage to buying websites is you short circuit all those years of building up the website. So you just come in and you can literally buy instant cash flow. So the main thing is that I want to reiterate with buying a website, and it's like how we used to buy rundown businesses. We used to do exactly the same thing with bricks and mortar businesses and fix them up. We've literally just short-circuited all the hard work of starting up a business. And Liz and I have done both. And to this day, we still do both. So we typically now have a portfolio of businesses or online businesses where some of them we've bought and we're fixing up, and others we're just building from scratch and constantly building up. And the other cool thing about buying a website is you can literally find what we call diamonds in the rough. These are bargains, like I described earlier, where people have neglected them. So not only are you short-circuiting the time to get that age and traffic coming in and a proven website, but you can literally buy very, very undervalued assets that can be hugely valuable in the right hands when you know what you're doing. So Flavia, we have students who absolutely blitzing this. And if I can share a perfect example of this, is a young couple that we've coached for a few years now, Nathan and Alexa. They're, laptop lifestyle couples. They at the moment they're living in Vietnam, I believe. They travel around the world, living off their laptop, doing what we've taught. And their last website that they bought, which falls into this category of buying a bargain site, it was a site off an Australian guy about Australian gardening, and they bought it for $400, which is it's just a rundown. He'd had it for many, many years. He'd posted all these really cool articles about Australian native trees, and he had quite a few visitors to the website every month. But the main thing was it had been established. It was a very legitimate site, been around for, I think, like 5 to 6 years old, this site was. And $400 is nothing. It's really cheap. And now that site in their hands, because they know what they're doing, they do this all the time with these sorts of, we call them passion sites. They're not gardeners, obviously. They're traveling around the world on a laptop. But they just use their team of writers and they fixed up that website. Today, we're heading into spring here in Australia right now, or we are in spring. And that now gets 80,000 visitors a month. And that website is making for Nathan and Alexa $4,000 a month, passive or semi-passively. So they're not working on it themselves at all. It's an asset now that they could easily sell for 6 figures. And yet that site only costs them $400. So, and that's literally the gold here, why you would buy a site rather than them trying to build a gardening site from scratch. A, they know nothing about gardening, but B, they just short-circuited all that hard work. So they were now that wasn't a get-rich-quick thing. That's taken them realistically 2 years to get, 1.5 years, maybe 1 to 1.5 years to get to that point. And that might sound pretty slow to some of your listeners, but you've got to realize Nathan and Alexa have a bunch of other sites that they do this exact same strategy with. Some of them are a lot bigger than that. So when you think about it, this is a semi-passive strategy if you want to own a portfolio of these that can work very, very effectively for a low risk of $400, and then they've got to put some money into renovating it. But really, it's not them that's doing the work. They're not working on that website every single day or anything like that. They just do a couple of hours planning with their team, and then they let their team run it. So it can be very, very leveraged by buying these bargain websites.
What are some other fun stories or websites that you have personally been involved in where you took a website and created something from it that is pretty memorable to you?
I think for Liz and I, when we got really excited about this, so I'll preface it by saying when people hear our story, they naturally assume that we're buying and selling e-commerce websites. So, sites that sell physical products on Amazon and stuff like that. We do none of that because our background in buying and selling bricks and mortar businesses is physical products. We used to own manufacturing businesses and wholesale import businesses. Now, those sorts of businesses tie up a lot of capital. So when we got online, what we were looking for, we read Robert Kiyosaki all those years ago, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and we loved his idea of buying the equivalent of, say, laundromats, where you put in someone to run it and it's very leveraged to you. And so that's what we were always trying to do with our bricks and mortar businesses. And we realized with the online model, our biggest constraint as young entrepreneurs was capital, like money. We had to borrow money off the banks. We were skating close to the edge financially many a time because, you've got all your money tied up in physical inventory. Why is this important? Is because we started seeing, like I said, in the early 2000s, this online space, and we realized we don't have to do any of that anymore. We can just have advertising websites or sites that are affiliates for physical products rather than us having to hold the physical inventory ourselves in a warehouse somewhere. We could just be an affiliate and we get like a 10% commission or 20% commission. So this was a game changer for us, absolutely massive. And I remember Liz one day said to me, why don't we just do what we've always done with bricks and mortar businesses, but do it with websites? Why are we building these things? Let's just go out and start buying these up. And so we would email people in America with these little websites or in very niche topics. And we would say to them, do you want to sell your website? We notice you haven't done much work on it for a while. We're in Australia, we're a cash buyer. And so coming to your story, one of the first sites that we bought, so back when we were doing it, not many people were doing this, so I hadn't figured it out. There was no marketplace or website brokers for buying and selling websites like there is today. And we bought this, one of our first sites, sounds funny now, but we actually bought it off eBay. Liz was looking around where to buy it, and the seller was like us. There was no brokers. So he just stuck it on eBay and said for sale, this affiliate site. Now we bought this website, and what got us really excited was I think it was $19,000 US. It was making $1,900 a month profit. So this was back in the old days when websites were quite cheap because no one was doing it. So that was a 10 times monthly return on our money. And within a month of owning it, we realized that this site had a lot of visitors coming to it, and it was going to some internal pages in the website. So you know how websites, like these are called content sites, and you know how websites have lots and lots of blog articles on them? What we discovered was 2 or 3 of the blog articles were generating most of the traffic. Most of the visitors were coming there, but there was no monetization on those pages whatsoever. So all we simply did was put our best affiliate offer onto those internal pages, and the profit went from about $2,000 a month, pretty much doubled it to around $3,500 a month. And that was just with one afternoon's work, changing around, because we weren't very technical at the time, but we just changed around these affiliate offers, and literally we had doubled the profits within, I don't know, less than a week. And it was just one afternoon's work. And it was just a game changer. We looked at us because the very next month we started making $3,500. And this was passive. We did nothing else on the website in the first couple of months that we owned it. So we literally would wake up in the morning and, the first of the month when we got the affiliate money get wired to us, it was double what it was the month before. So $3,500 US passive. And we suddenly looked at each other and went, this is cool. Let's buy 10 more of these websites. And then you're generating a significant income. And so that was basically our strategy from that day forward. And we absolutely loved it. To this day, that we still do the same strategy. We look for the real quick, easy wins.
That's an amazing story. I think listeners we're all divided into 2 camps and maybe a combination of 2 camps. So there's people thinking, whoa, I've got, the blog I did back in college that I kind of stopped doing because I got this job or, whatever. People are like looking at their own sort of inventory of underutilized assets, thinking,
Awesome.
get on that. And others are like, I don't have any websites, but I want to go buy one and do this. And it's not even flipping the website, because you buy and hold. You buy, renovate.
Yeah, buy and hold. Yep.
In real estate, it's like those people that buy a house, fix it up, and then turn it into a great rental that'll just generate income for years to come. So tell us, for those people who are like, I got to go buy some websites. I know you offer coaching. Tell us about your program and how people can get in touch with you.
Yep. So this is what we love doing these days. Because we came from a non-tech background, so we're not IT people at all. We grew up on farms here in Australia. We actually studied as zoologists. That's how Liz and I met at university, being zoologists. And we've always been, our biggest mistakes that we made when we first started doing this was the tech side, knowing how to build these websites, how to renovate them, what do you need to do? And we know to this day, that's what holds everyone back. I'm guessing if you're listening to this, that is probably your number one fear of doing this. It's just, you're probably an expert in real estate. We find a lot of our community members are experts in real estate and have made significant money in real estate. But the number one thing you need to learn is how to build a website, how websites work, and how to do website due diligence. And that is precisely what we've been teaching people for the last decade. We love doing it. Our audience is worldwide, even though we're based in Australia. You can Google us. You'll see lots and lots of stories and success stories of our students who've done this. And Flavia, the number one thing that we teach, whilst you hear all these really exciting stories from our students, if you're listening to this, and you've never done this before, if I can give you one bit of advice, is please just start out small. Like buy a little tiny website under $1,000 like Nathan Alexa did, and learn how to, prove this to yourself that you like this and that you've got this by buying a small, simple website under $1,000. And the reason why that's important in our education business is it allows us to very effectively and safely teach people how to do this. We're not getting people to quit their jobs on day one. It's not a get rich quick thing, because there is significant digital skills that you need to teach. So at the E-Business Institute, which is what we've set up, our specialty is training kind of burnt out 9-to-5 corporates how to transition over to online income. And if you listen to any of our interviews or success stories, you'll notice a lot of our listeners are in the older age group, typically with kids, typically burnt out from having pretty high corporate roles at Flavia. Lots of lawyers. We have lots of, you guys work so hard, and we're really good at teaching how to do what Liz and I have done for the last 20 odd years, which is buying and selling and renovating websites. That's our specialty.
So much fun. Love all your stories. So ebusinessinstitute.com .au, correct? For
yes. Yep.
You. So ebusinessinstitute.com.au, being in Australia. And I love this little factoid about you, because you're Australian, you're in Australia, but your last name, Raad, is Norwegian, R-A-A-D. So Matt Raad, R-A-A-D. And in Norwegian, it means good advice.
Yes, which is, I was saying.
I love it.
Yeah, and here we are growing up in Australia on farms, and I said to Dad, it means good advice. That's what I do now. And he thought it was, he's that tough Norwegian thing, and he just laughed and said, yeah, it means it's the Radhus. It means house of advice. And listen, I think it's in our family, it's quite amusing that I've become this, advisor for high net worths and people that want to invest and stuff like that. So we've always been advisors for people buying and selling businesses. But of course, these days, we love teaching people how to buy and sell website businesses. Dad and I love it. That's his surname, good advice. So hopefully we are out there giving good advice to everyone.
I think everyone should check out your website, ebusinessinstitute.com.au, and check you out and learn more about what you teach, because it is such an interesting and unique topic and area of commerce. And I thank you, Matt, so much for your time today and sharing your world with us.
Thank you so much for having me on. Real pleasure to be here.
Guess what, lifestyle solopreneurs? If you don't yet have an online business earning you enough passive income to live the life of your dreams, I'd like to suggest you consider trying out Kajabi. Kajabi is an all-in-one solution where you can create and teach online courses, publish a paid newsletter, launch a free or paid podcast, process payments, build one-on-one coaching portals for your clients, and much, much more. I personally use Kajabi to power numerous successful and profitable online businesses. Lifestyle solopreneurs, there's a free trial of Kajabi waiting for you at this link, www.kfreetrial.com. You can try Kajabi for free, no obligation, by going to www.kfreetrial.com. Again, kfreetrial.com, and that K stands for Kajabi. Starting an online business helped me break free from that corporate grind, and I hope it does the same for you. You have nothing to lose and absolutely everything to gain. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Don't forget to subscribe to the show, and see you next time.